2025. So on March 15th, we have Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves, ruler of this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo energy that we're still very much sitting in. We have Mr. Mercury going retrograde at 9 degrees in Aries energy. So, of course, we came into the year under the influence of Mercury's retrograde. This is going to be pretty much the second one of the year. We definitely have a couple more taking place throughout the course of this year, and most of them are in fire signs. But of course, we will see it start in a fire sign and end in a water sign. Let's talk about it. So first of all, March 1st, we had Mercury enter into the retrograde shadow period at 26 degrees in Pisces energy. March 1st was also when Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, went retrograde at 10 degrees in Aries energy. Now, here on the 15th, Mercury is going to go retrograde at this 9 degree. He is essentially chasing Venus into the underworld, our heart space, Venus, head space, Mercury, working together to deconstruct the old version of self, the old version of our belief systems. We have a huge renovation, huge restructuring, huge recalibration going on, and our heart and our head need to do it together. They need to get in alignment. So, of course, we will see Mercury go direct on April 7th at 26 degrees of that Pisces energy. And then April 26th, we are going to see Mercury leave his post-retrograde shadow period at that 9 degrees in Aries. So, of course, this is a very different retrograde, mostly because it's not just Mercury doing it. Venus is already retrograde, and them traveling together is a very important thing. We also have to take into consideration that, again, we're in eclipse season. We are in the final days of the old calendar. We are in the final days of Pisces season. We are anticipating moving into this new astrological calendar, this new karmic chapter, when the sun moves into Aries energy on March 20th. So again, we have eclipse energies, retrograde energies, closures and endings chapters. We have a lot going on. And as we kind of go through this eclipse season, of course, Mercury and Venus are going to be retrograde for the whole entirety of this eclipse season. We aren't really in control. There's a lot of divinely scripted events. There's a lot of fated events happening with that eclipse energy. And of course, the restructuring going on between our heart and our head is taking place because of the aha moments, the illumination, the epiphanies that are coming out of not only the retrogrades, but eclipse season as well. So if this was just Mercury being retrograde, of course, we are in for the same old, which takes place every single year, 3 or 4 times a year, depending on Mercury's retrograde cycle. But when Mercury retrogrades, our mental plane kind of shuts down a little bit. I like to kind of think of Mercury kind of getting drugged, and you move into that unconscious realm where you kind of have to take a back seat to your awareness and really observe what is going on. Observe where limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs are still kind of preventing you from moving on and moving forward, and observe where it is that you have to revisit some old ideas, some old projects, some old people, places, and things in order to put into perspective what you're actually done with. And because we have this umbrella effect of eclipse energies kind of showing us where karmic chapters need to come to an end and a preparation for new karmic chapters to begin, there's definitely going to be a lot of reframing going on in the headspace. But of course, this isn't just Mercury retrograde. This is Venus retrograde as well. And again, a couple of years ago, we had Mars, the masculine divine energy, go retrograde with Mercury. And there was a restructuring of that energy, that masculine energy, that action energy, that assertive energy. Of course, we've been going through this reconstruction of the masculine divine energy and really dealing with the shadow parts of that. And now we're doing it with Venus. So the feminine divine energy has been on the rise. But again, a lot of the old programming is still very stuck, not only in our head space, not only in our heart space, but in our cellular memory. And so in order to kind of deconstruct who it is that we had to be in that survival system, in that survival programming, we have to kind of be triggered and activated in the worst kind of ways in order to become very aware of where our heart and our head are kind of stuck in a funk, so to speak. And so typically speaking, with the Mercury retrograde, we're just kind of revisiting some things. There is a revision of plans. There's a revisiting of topics and themes. There is this reflection that we are going through in order to really challenge our thoughts, challenge our ideas. We have to rethink a lot of the plans that we thought we were going to be taking action upon, because again, with the wild card energies of eclipse season and Venus in her retrograde, we're going to be having a major shift, not only in our heart space, but in our circumstances. And coming out of this particular retrograde and coming out of this eclipse season, we're going to be in a totally different playing field, especially seeing as, again, we enter into the new astrological calendar halfway through eclipse season. Also, while Mercury, headspace, and Venus, heart space, are in their darkest days. So there's definitely going to be a lot popping off. And of course, if you want to take a look at your chart and realize where the Aries and Pisces cusp is, that is where most of the action is taking place here this year. If you need to go back, take a listen to the 2025 year ahead overview, or even take part in that mini course where, again, you can kind of analyze your chart, see where all of these particular transits are taking place. There is going to be this revisitation, if you will, of old projects, old topics and themes where we could potentially be breathing new life into old things instead of actually having to start from scratch. So this is going to be a very interesting time, especially while Mercury is in this Aries energy, because if you go back and think about how our headspace has been kind of moving at a very fast pace, I would say, since Mercury entered into this Aries energy on March 3rd, now there's going to be this accelerated process of kind of burning down the old thoughts, the old limitations, the old perspectives, the old understandings. And, things are going to get a little bit spicy. And considering the fact that communication definitely fails us in a retrograde, there's probably going to be a lot of angered type of conversations, because that spiciness has to come out from somewheres. And then to put into perspective the fact that on the new moon solar eclipse in Aries that we will be having on March 29th, Mercury will be retrograding back into the Pisces energy on that exact same day. So when Venus moves back into that Pisces energy 2 days prior to, on the 27th, that is kind of when we go in to soothe and heal and change and transform our heart space, when we kind of let go of the shadow parts, where we align with the healing energy, align with new dreams, goals, visions, and inspirations. And then when Mercury kind of follows Venus into that Pisces energy, we're going to snuff out a lot of the fire, the spark, the flames that we are definitely sitting in this Aries energy. So again, when Mercury kind of dips back into that Pisces energy, we're going to be blending our intellect with our intuition, which is definitely going to serve us very well. However, if you want to kind of take a look at your March energy guide, and even kind of going back into the later part of the February energy guide, you should have been making notes. And many of us kind of struggled with Mercury being in that Pisces energy because, again, there was a lot of darker thoughts, shadow work to be done, a lot of endings and closures that had to take place. And again, with a retrograde, we're going back to revisit all of that. But this time around, we're going to have a different lens. We have a different perspective. We have a different idea. And again, with the eclipse energies kind of pinging off some wild card faded events in the background, we are going to be dipping back into that Pisces energy in order to release, to purge, to eliminate, and to kind of soothe a lot of the spiciness going on in our headspace and in our heart space with Venus in this Aries energy. And so it is going to be a very interesting retrograde, not a typical one at all, but again, the year 2025, the year of 9, this is not a typical year. And with all of these energies building up towards the Pisces and Aries cusp, we're going to have Venus and Mercury not only dip back into the Pisces energy, but aspect Neptune and Saturn and that North Node that is responsible for these eclipse events on the way. And so those are conjunctions, and that is a reset. And so we have to expect that there's going to be a series of probably 3, maybe even 5 total resets of the heart and the head from now until April, when Venus and Mercury come out of their retrogrades. And of course, we break out of this eclipse energy as well. And so there's definitely going to be a sharpness in our headspace and on our tongue, which we have to look out for, especially seeing as Mercury retrogrades, typically speaking, kind of create delays or create confusion or create detours that can frustrate the F out of us, especially because we're not really emotionally grounded right now. Again, Venus, she's in the darkest place in the underworld. She's spending her 40 days and 40 nights beating herself up, breaking herself down so that she can emerge on the other side of this as her most powerful version of self. And so there's a lot going on, and we're not going to be able to absolutely pinpoint what planet is doing what to us. There are too many, let's call it, rulers on deck. There are too many fluctuations in energies to be able to absolutely pinpoint what is creating what. However, if you have a lot of pressure in your chest, if there's a lot of emotion breaking on your chest, if there's a lot of pivot points, choice points that very, very much are emotionally fueled, good guess, that's Venus. There's a lot of pressure in the headspace, a lot of pressure in communication, a lot of really wild thoughts coming at you. Again, we could probably say that that is Mercury. But again, with the eclipse energy running in the background, there are all kinds of fated events, as small and minute as they may be, to trigger and activate us to have that change of heart, to have that change of perspective, change of understanding. And so it is going to be a little bit of a choppy journey out there in the emotional ocean while we wrap up Pisces season. And as we dip into Aries season, and of course we hit that equinox energy and the karmic chapters are kind of reset and that playing field is reset, then we're going to be moving into this life force energy renewal, which of course is definitely going to fan those flames, fuel that fire. And we're definitely going to have to double down on energy management.